Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our friendly tech hour. Thanks again for joining. I don't know if it's morning or if it's afternoon for you, but greetings to you, whatever time it is. If you're watching live, if you're watching the recording, thanks for checking us out. Really appreciate that. My name is Mackenzie. You can call me Ken. I am your friend to making technology feel more simple, clearer, maybe even fun. I don't want to overpromise, right? I don't want to overpromise, but it might just be fun. Obviously, if you've been paying attention the past 30 years, you know the internet is not going anywhere. So understanding it is going to help you to feel more capable, more confident. You don't need a PhD. Just some basics can go a very long way. And if you stick with our sessions, you'll be able to resolve your own issues. When you're online, you'll be able to mitigate any headaches all on your own. First things first, though, just a reminder that if you're on our live stream, the best part about this format is you can give me feedback in real time. If I'm going too fast, if I'm speaking too quickly, you can just tell me that. If you need me to repeat a point, just let me know in the chat. It's no problem. Additionally, if you're watching the recording, you can also let me know topics you're interested in for future live streams. Of course, if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see what the schedule is for the rest of our week. Yesterday, we talked about basics of the internet. Today, we'll be talking about email, and tomorrow we will be talking about websites, how to navigate them, how to recognize certain signs, and of course, how to recognize dangers. Also, if you have a specific question, maybe you have a technology issue that you're trying to resolve and you haven't been able to do so successfully. Maybe you're frustrated with something on your phone that you can't seem to get fixed, or maybe it's your Roku or your Fire Stick or your Nest thermostat. Whatever it is, there's a couple of things that I have for you. Every week, I have a question and answer live stream. It's only for that purpose. It's private. It's called One Click at a Time, and you can join that. And just like in this, we have a live chat. You can type in your questions, and I answer them for you right there in real time. So I'll share the link for that at the end of this video. Also, if you feel that you need more one-on-one time, I also have times available where I can help you one-on-one. It's just us on a video chat. I walk you through problems. There's no software to download. You don't need to learn anything to join it. You just schedule the time. I meet you then, and we fix those problems together. So just those two things to keep you aware of. Now, if you joined us yesterday, you remember that we talked about how the internet, right, is just like a giant highway, right? I'm sure you remember this discussion from yesterday. So with that being the case, if the internet is just like a highway, what would we say that our email is like, right? We know that the routers are like the on-ramp. We know that the websites are like buildings along the highway. And your device, whether it's your TV, your phone, your tablet, whatever the case, your refrigerator, those are like the cars that we use to move along that highway. What is your email like? Well, we talked about this briefly yesterday. We'll do a little review of some of the points from yesterday to get us started. You'll recall that our email is like a P.O. box, right? It's a location where you can receive mail of various sorts, right? And you can see just how stuffed and jam-packed that picture is there for the P.O. box. And certainly our regular mailboxes, right? Our physical mailboxes, whether it's at the end of the driveway or maybe it's attached to our front porch, they often end up that way, right? Just packed with information. And in our still there, you can see someone's Gmail account, and it's got lots and lots of emails in it, right? Various types of emails. So one quick distinction that I want to make for you guys today. Emailing, right? Emailing is not like texting. Yes, you are typing out words, but it's different. And there's a huge difference as to when and why and how from an etiquette perspective, right? And we're all pretty aware of etiquette. For example, perhaps your mother or your grandmother had a curio right outside of the dining room or maybe in the dining room. And in that curio, there was all sorts of really nice dishware, maybe even some china. Now, let's say you were going to order pizza. Would it be a good idea to pull out that fine china to eat the pizza on? Probably not. That'd probably be a bad idea, right? It's not the right format for what's taking place. And so texting is more for just your quick, casual conversations, something that maybe just day-to-day things. Whereas email is a little more longer, right? It's something where you usually going to look at an email and you know you're going to have to read for a little while. It's usually a little more serious, usually a little more formal kind of communication, and it's especially useful if you need a paper trail for a conversation, right? If you're doing any sort of business, if you're doing any sort of like serious things that revolves around like a financial transaction, you want a paper trail, you would do that through an email. So if that makes sense, please a thumbs up in the chat. I want to make sure I didn't lose anyone with that. It's a pretty simple concept, but really, really important that we understand that. All right, very good. Let's go to our next point. So for a lot of us, it may feel like email is confusing. For various reasons. There's all sorts of reasons that we might feel that email is confusing, but it's not magic. It's not a trap per se. It's just a digital version of something that we're very accustomed to doing, right? Sending and receiving mail. So you probably, maybe even today, have already checked the mail, the physical mail box, right? And you probably remember the first little piece of mail you received as a kid, right? Maybe you had a pen pal, or maybe you had a magazine subscription, right? Those sorts of things happen via email as well, except it's faster, of course. So just backing up again, we know that our email is like our PO box, right? It's a place where we can get our digital communication very simply. And it's especially like a PO box because it kind of often lands in the same place. We talked yesterday about the domain, right? So let's just jump back to that point we had yesterday about the structure of an email address, right? Everyone that has a PO box is the same address, except on that second line, it'll say PO box, whatever. And there could be thousands of those boxes all going to the same address, but it would have a specific number associated with it. Well, the same thing is true with email, right? We talked about yesterday how there's three components to it, right? Three components. The first is the username. That's everything that comes before the @ symbol, right? So in this case, we have John Doe, right? John Doe is the username. We have the @ symbol, and then we have the domain, gmail.com. So this is very similar to that structure of a PO box, right? It will vary. Yours may be your first name, your last name at iCloud or at Yahoo or at Outlook. But that is that basic format. Now you need all three pieces, right? You need all three pieces. So to read an email address, there's that flow. If you're reading a physical address, right? 123 2nd Street, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the zip code, right? There's just a flow to it. Something similar with email. This one would read johndoe@gmail.com. Really important that we read the whole thing, right? You need the whole address, because if you leave out any part of it, it could get delivered to the wrong place. And obviously that would not be beneficial. So let's go a little further with our email. So When it comes to email, right, we talked about the domain name, right? And so just like there's various companies that we rely on to deliver our mail. So we see in our picture there, we've got FedEx, we've got UPS, we've got USPS, right? Those physical mail providers, it's a very similar process when it comes to email, right? So you've got outlook.com, yahoo.com, gmail.com. Those email providers are just like FedEx. It's the exact same concept. They're going to make sure that things get delivered properly for you. So you can access your email in two basic ways. And we're going to hit on the details of these distinctions a bit more tomorrow when we talk about websites. But you can either use a browser, right? Remember, we talked about web browsers like Google Chrome, like Opera, like Firefox, or if you're an Apple user, Safari, right? Those are web browsers, and you can go to outlook.com, icloud.com, and access your email by logging in, or you can use an application or a mobile app. And both of those things will show you the exact same information as long as you're logged in with the same username and password. Now that part is very, very important. Again, we're going to have a nice live stream next week about username and password. I know it's frustrating. You're tired of having to type your password in. I understand, but it is very, very important that we do that each and every time we're prompted to do so in the web browser or in the mobile app. So let's talk about sending and receiving email. Likely you're already familiar with that process. You've probably done it a few times, I imagine, probably several times. But there's, again, some etiquette that we want to remember. If you attended school in the United States, usually around first or second grade, they have you memorize your address in case you ever get lost. But then they quickly teach us how to write mail, right? So on the top left of the envelope, of course, you write the return address so the person knows who sent it. And then also, of course, you would write the name and address of the person you were sending the letter to, right? That way they're aware of, oh, this was intended for this particular person. We do something very similar with email. So I will show you, I've got an email account here that I'm going to pull up for us. All right. So this is a email account for myself. And when we take a look here, we're going to just start an email. We're going to send an email. So the first thing you'll notice is that it's prompting us to write to someone, right? We're being prompted to write to someone. Pretty typical, right? That's the address, right? This would be what you would write on the middle of an envelope. What's different about email is not only do you put the name, right, and address, the email address of the person that you're sending it to, but it also says that we can tell them the subject. So when you get a letter in the mail, especially from like a friend or a family member, they usually never tell us what it's going to be about on the outside. On a very, very rare case, right? Maybe it's a special occasion. They let you know this is for you to RSVP for something. But usually we don't really know what the piece of mail is about when it's from someone we know. However, with email, this is a nice opportunity to let the person know what it is that we want to talk about. That way, there's no surprises. They don't feel stressed or worried about what it is. They just know, oh, I want to share some pictures from a recent trip with you, or I want to tell you something that's too long to get into a phone conversation about, but I'd like to share it with you. We can kind of tell them briefly in the subject line there. If we don't include a subject line, that's kind of mysterious, kind of weird. So we want to make sure that we're using that so people know what it is that we're writing them about. So of course, we put the email address of the person that we're speaking to here. So we'll just say that we're going to send an email to johndoe@gmail.com. And from there, we can just say sharing pictures from trip to Mazatlan, right? So maybe we took a trip to Mexico and we're just going to share some pictures. So if we wanted to share these pictures, how do we do it? Well, email has a functionality called attachments. So if you were sending a physical letter, right, you'd get your envelope, and before you sealed it up, maybe you'd write your little letter, fold it up, put it in the envelope, but then you just slip some photos in there as well, right? Or maybe, if you're really tech savvy, you might throw a thumb drive in there for them, but that's not a great idea. So how do you do this on an email? If you look at the bottom of the screen, there's a lot of options for editing the text. So we've got the B, as you can see, stands for bold. You got the I, which stands for italics, and the U, the underline, that's for editing your text. But if you wanted to attach something, there's always a Q, no matter what sort of email you use, whether Yahoo, Outlook, it doesn't matter. There's always a Q on the screen that's going to alert you to here is where you put an attachment. So if you were going to attach something in a physical way, let's say you wanted to connect a piece of paper and a picture, what would you use? Well, maybe if you didn't care about the picture, you'd staple it, but that's unlikely. You'd want someone to get a good photo that's got integrity. You don't want to put holes in it. So usually we'd use a paper clip. So oftentimes that paper clip, as you can see there, that's what is our cue. That's our sign to know that we use that to attach files. And you see, as I hover my mouse over it, it says attach files. So we can do that. We click on it and then we get some options, right? So let's see, I want to go to my pictures. Here's a picture of me getting ready to send a picture to someone. And you see it's already selected. It's got a name, and I just hit open, which is, I know that's confusing. We're not actually opening it, but we're opening it in the sense that we're going to attach it to this email, right? So we've got our address here at the top. You know who we're sending it to. We've got a nice subject line so the person knows what they're getting. We haven't typed any text. There's no need to get into that. But the most important part is we have attached the image, right? We've attached something. Now let's say I attached the wrong thing. I made a mistake. Right? What do I do? Have I completely messed up? Did I do something catastrophic? Never. In fact, at no point when you're online have you done something catastrophic. In most cases, there's usually always a way to resolve something very simply. So if you feel that you've made a mistake, don't panic. There's cues on the screen to help you. So if we hover over this one attachment, you'll notice there's an X, and you see what it says? Remove attachment. So if you don't like the one that you sent, don't worry. You just click the X and it goes away. Now, when you are working with other emails, or if you're, for example, doing an email on your phone, it will look differently, right? And if you use a different email, if you use Gmail or if you use Outlook, it may look differently than what we just saw as we use the Yahoo email. But the point is the same. If you want to attach something, you'll be looking for a paper clip or maybe a plus sign right somewhere on the screen. That's going to be your cue that this is what you use to add an attachment. So far, what do you think? Are we understanding? Do we have questions? Oh, someone tells me they can't see the bottom of the screen. My apologies. Let's see if we can resolve that. I bet we can. I bet there's a way that we can fix that. So let's see what we can do. Let's go back to our email, and this is what we'll do. We're just going to make this a little bit smaller, and then we're going to bring this up and make it a little bit smaller again. Now it will be a little harder to see now, but that's okay. Now you can see the bottom, right? You can see the bottom of our email. So right there, we've got our paper clip towards the bottom, right there, right? And just for transparency, I'll show you the process again. Again, you see attach files, right? And we're going to grab our picture. We will place it in there by clicking open. And if we decide I don't like that picture, no problem. You just click on remove attachment. And I believe everyone would have been able to see that this time. So I think we've got it. I think we've got how to send an email. Now that's just sending an email. What about replying? Right? What if someone has sent us an email and we want to reply to that email? How do we do that? How do we ensure that the email gets to the person that we want and we send the information to the correct person? It sounds simple, but it's very easy to get confused here. So we're going to take our time. Let's go back to our email. We're going to get rid of this one because John Doe is not interested in receiving my pictures from my trip to Mexico. So you see there's just an X there and it says, we're just going to close that out. Now you'll notice there is an email received here. So let's take a look at this email and see what it says. This subject line says, is this Mackenzie from MTHS? Curious. Let's read it and see what they're asking. Hi there. I'm not sure if I have the right person, but did you go to Mount Tabor High School in Georgia back in 2001? I think we were on the same baseball team. Let me know if I have the right Mackenzie. Thanks, and I'm sorry if this isn't the right one. Well, that's cool. Looks like someone from my high school is reaching out to find out if we can reconnect, right? They sent me this email last night. So, very simple process from here. I just click reply. I think I know this person. I can type this out to them. Yes, it's me. And then I just hit send, or if I wanted to add more, very simple. Right. Now that's for someone that we know, right? We know the person, we're familiar with them. We send it, we just reply to them, right? Very simple. Just use reply. Sometimes you'll get emails from a business that you use. Like in this case, I've got an email from Yahoo, right? But notice there's something interesting about the sender of this email. This is extremely important. Let's really, really lock in right now mentally, because you don't want to miss this point. As I hover over the name of the sender, you notice it says no reply at cc.yahoo.com. Now, you are going to receive emails like this frequently if you sign up for anything online. Usually, to confirm that you've signed up, you get an email from no reply at whatever it is. So sometimes it's Facebook. Same time, sometimes if you've signed up maybe to pay your power bill, it's from your powercompany.com or whatever the case. But that no reply is very, very important. You're going to receive these sorts of emails. It's usually to confirm something, a hotel reservation, a payment. In this case, I created a passkey, a verification code, because sometimes when you sign up for something, it's very important that they confirm your identity before they process it. They want to make sure that it's going to the person that requested it. So they'll send a verification code that you'll need to copy and place onto another app or website. Or maybe they've changed their terms of use or service, that really long list of things that we never actually read that we really should read. And I'll show you a trick on how to do that in the future. But these are the people that will send us emails of this nature from a no reply email username. So there's no danger with this, right? They're not trying to trick you. They're not trying to rope you into any sort of scam or anything like that. But they are trying to alert you that no one monitors the email address associated with this. That's why they call it no reply. No one is going to read it. So, for example, if I decided to hit reply, I can send an email. I could say, for example, thank you. And I could send a reply. But because it's going to the email address called no reply, they're telling us don't reply. Don't send anything back to this email. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up or a heart in the chat if you understand that the no reply email is not something that we should reply to. They're just sharing some information with us or confirming something for us. Give me a thumbs up or a heart in the chat if that makes sense to you. I feel like that's a pretty common thing that many of us experience, but I don't want to run past it because it is pretty important. Very good. Very good. Thanks for that feedback. Really appreciate it. So let's continue on our discussion about email. So the people that will send you emails, right, that you can expect, your social media networks that you use, they're going to send you emails periodically. For example, if you haven't logged in, maybe in a couple of weeks, they might send you an email and say, hey, your friends are doing this or that. Come check it out. Businesses that you use. So if you're an Amazon shopper or a Temu shopper, or you have any particular brand that you like to shop for online, they'll send you emails. But then there's also, of course, your friends and your family. They're going to send you emails as well. You will also get emails from businesses that you have never heard of, that you have never visited their website, you've never solicited them for anything. They're going to send you emails as well. And then, of course, they're scammers, right? The dreaded scammers. And we want to keep our eyes open for them. We'll discuss why knowing who the sender of an email is extremely important when we're determining how to handle that email. So just as a quick review, we know how to address an email, right? We put that on the to in the email. We know how to put the subject line. We know how to make an attachment, and we know how to send. So if any of that wasn't super clear, don't worry. If you're watching the live stream right now, you can just use the navigation. Whoops, it's going to be on this side on YouTube. Just click back a few seconds and watch it again. The stream will keep going and you'll catch up with it in time, but you can go back and review it anytime you want. There's no time pressure. You don't have to take any notes. You can just watch it again. Something that I was told was that retention or repetition is the mother of retention. So if you feel that you don't quite have it, it's because you don't have enough repetitions of hearing or practicing it. So don't feel stress or pressure if the first time you're hearing it, it's not sticking. Or even if you've been using email and you realize, like, wait a minute, I don't actually understand this. Don't worry. Just continue to watch and it'll stick. You'll be able to understand it. Practice makes much better, right? Maybe not perfect, but definitely much better. Let's now do the good, the bad, and the ugly of email. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm sure we have all gone to our mailbox in reality and seen it stuffed to the brim. I mean, just packed in there with letters, bills. Now, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. Who, as soon as they open up or as soon as they get the mail out of their mailbox, just starts tearing it open and reading it? Raise your hand. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you, as soon as you see the mail, you just start tearing it open. I doubt that any of you are going to raise your hand, but I'll give you a second. I'll give you a legitimate opportunity to reply. But I suspect that most of us take a second and read. We look at who the sender is and if there's any information on that physical mail, because it can't be an emergency if someone sent it to us in physical mail. We take just a minute always and we just review it. We get some information, right? So the things that come in the mail are going to fall into these categories are good, bad, and ugly, right? And so if we take a second and just read, we'll figure out whether it's good, bad, or ugly, right? Let's just hit on a couple of points. So the good things that we receive via email. You can receive letters from friends, updates. You know, maybe you haven't heard from them in a while and they just want to tell you about life. They might send you a nice long email, right? You may get a holiday card. Right? Somebody might send you a card, a greeting for a holiday. That might be in an email. You may get an invitation to an event, a wedding, an anniversary party, maybe a picnic, things of this nature, right? Lots of invitations go out via email. It's a quick way for people to get their RSVPs in an organized way. Maybe you have a magazine subscription and they'll notify you that the latest issue of a magazine is coming to you in a physical way, but they'll let you know in an email that it's on the way. Or maybe you get it digitally. They'll give you a link in that email to find it. And of course, our favorite and least favorite thing in the world, bills. If you've got a bill, that means that you are able to enjoy some sort of modern convenience that unfortunately they are charging you for. But hey, it's nice to have electricity and air conditioning and things like that, right? So unfortunately, we have to pay for it. But the good news is we had some convenience as a result. So all the things that we do via physical mail, we can do via email. Those good things. Okay, you can't receive a package via email, but all those other really good things that we can do via email. What about the bad? What about the bad? We all know what the bad is. Every time you go to your physical mailbox, there's some junk mail, right? Inevitably, there's always some junk mail, right? With that being the case, because there's going to be junk mail, right? You probably are asking yourself, how in the world did this person get my home address? Well, if this was back in the 90s, of course, or before, they would have used the yellow pages or some sort of directory, right? And they would have used that to get your address, and then they send you an email. And when you would see that it was junk mail, what would you do? Would you read it very carefully? Follow the instructions to the letter? Of course not. You just throw it away. You might even tear it up first, right? Just to let some frustration about the junk mail out. But you certainly weren't going to follow the instructions. And the same thing happens with email, right? You're going to get junk email. Let's take a moment and just pivot back to our email for just a moment. And what we want to do is look at our inbox. So yesterday, we talked about the fact that there are certain cues on websites and apps to let us know, hey, we're trying to let you know that there's more information than we can put on the screen. You may not remember the term for that, and that's okay. One of the cues is the kebab. So it's going to be 3 dots horizontally or vertically, right? Yesterday, we saw a vertical option. This time we see a horizontal option. You'll also see at the top right there's the 9 dot. The 9 dots are very similar to the kebab, right? It's going in multiple directions. But you see there's functionality that's hidden behind those dots. So here you notice when I hover over it, well, you can't see it actually, but it says more, right? It'll pop up the word more. So when we click on more, you'll notice that it has a special place for the spam, which they also call junk mail. Now, thankfully, there's nothing in there. But usually our email has a filter that will send emails that we did not request, that it recognizes as junk mail. It just puts it in that folder for us, and usually we won't even see it. We never even have to interact with the junk mail. However, there are occasions when it'll slip through and it will land in what we call our primary or our main inbox. That does happen. So even though there's that functionality where it takes it to the spam folder, it's true. The reality is it's not perfect. Sometimes this junk mail is going to land right there. But there's other kinds of, it's adjacent to junk mail. It's not exactly junk mail, but it's adjacent to it. Here's some examples. Offers. So let's say you've signed up with a certain company and they'll have offer emails that they place, that they'll send to you. It will land right here. Maybe it'll be a discount code or things of that nature, a brief promotion. There's also in some emails a promotion tab. You also have social. This is where the emails that come from your social media will come from. So whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, almost said Twitter, it's not Twitter anymore, X, YouTube. If they send you any emails, it'll land in the social. And then, of course, if you've signed up for any newsletters, maybe there's a healthcare practitioner that you like their methodologies, or maybe there's a celebrity that puts out information that you like. If they do a newsletter, it'll land right here, right? Just so you know what these tabs are. And they may look different on the email that you use, but that's the general activity. So you may be wondering, how in the world? I understand back in the day they would use the yellow pages, right? Or the white pages to get your information. You might be thinking, how could someone do that with my email address? If I didn't sign up for something, I didn't put my email out there, how did they get it? Well, this is another moment. Let's lock in for just a second. Really focus your mind. Perhaps you've been on a website. We'll take a look at Old Navy website here. And this is, there's nothing harmful. This is a legitimate website, right? It's a real, nothing nefarious taking place on this website. But you'll notice there's this pop-up right here towards the bottom. Let me make sure that you can see this because it's really, really important. Let's see. Okay, you can see the whole thing. So I'm going to read this to you. This is how companies get information. So in this paragraph, it says, we, meaning Old Navy, use and share personal information through cookies and similar technologies on our sites to personalize your shopping experience and ads. Okay, that doesn't sound bad, right? They use information that they gather from our web browser, right? Because usually we're logged in to our web browser. And they take that information and they say, oh, in the past, you've purchased, a performance fleece. You like the performance fleece. We're going to offer you a discount on performance fleece. That seems okay. But here's where it gets tricky. It says others. There's the next word, others. Who's others? They don't say. Before, if you notice up here, it says we will use this. But then it says we use and share. So every company, when they get information about you, usually in the form of your email address, remember we talked about how your device has an IP address, so they know your location. They will take that information and they sell it to other companies, right? So it says that the companies they sell it to, quote unquote, others, may use this information for their own marketing and business purposes, right? So that's how you end up getting junk mail, is companies collect a little information about you, nothing harmful, but they use it. So it says if you don't want to be a part of that, you notice it says you can click your privacy choices and you just unselect. Don't share my stuff with anyone, right? Problem solved. That's the way to do that. If that was confusing, don't worry. Go back, watch that part again, because it's really important to know that is how it happens. No one's hacking you, right? That's not what's happening. It's when we go to websites, they collect something called cookies, which is just little bits of information about you as the person on the website, and then they can sell that. And that's how you end up getting the junk mail. So, very simple. All right. And that's just the tip of the iceberg on that subject. Of course, nefarious actors can intercept that information, and we know there's just lots of scams out there. There are lots of scammers out there. And one of my big goals for my audience is to protect you from scammers. There are so many bad actors in the world, and they are getting more and more sophisticated. Their hope and wish is that you will continue to use technology, but not be informed of how it works, right? They want you to say things like, well, I can't figure it out, but you use it anyway. Or I don't really understand what's happening, and you use it anyway. They're crying tears of joy when you make those decisions, because they know that is an opportunity for them to deceive you. And so this information that I'm sharing, that's the exact purpose for it, is for you not to get scammed. So you have awareness of what's taking place, right? Not having just a basic understanding of things like email, it's like leaving the front door of your house wide open, windows and doors, and your valuables just lined up out front, right? It's asking for someone to take what you worked hard to earn and protect. Instead, let's commit to a very different mindset, right? The mindset is, I don't need to be an expert, but I'm no dummy, right? I don't need to be an expert, but I'm no dummy. Thumbs up in the chat if you're willing to commit to that mindset, that you're not going to let, and if you're watching the recording of this, type it in there. I don't need to be an expert, but I'm no dummy. And when we learn these rules, you are going to be protected from scammers. And of course, that is the bad, right? Excuse me, the ugly. We have advanced from bad to worse. The ugly of email is phishing attempts, right? And they hope that you won't pay attention to the tricks that they have up their sleeves, right? So I'm going to give you some tips on how to spot these things, right? And how to protect yourself as a result. You'll notice that phishing is clearly spelled incorrectly if you're referring to going to place a hook attached to a line with some bait in the water for a fish to get. It's clearly spelled different, but it is very similar in its concept. The concept is very, very similar. What they're looking to do is place some sort of psychologically enticing information in front of you in the hope that you won't pay attention to the details and that you'll just follow their instructions. So think back to your physical mailbox, right? Think back to your physical mailbox. When you'd get that big pile of letters, maybe there'd be one that was pink or yellow, a bright color, and on the front, normally there's nothing on the front of a letter, right? But this one would say you may have already won. You might have already won. Lots of exclamation points. Open to get more information. And your first thought is, what did I even apply? Did I apply to win anything? I have no idea what this is about. See, the sender hoped that they could get you to open it and potentially maybe send them some information or some money, right? They call that mailbox phishing. And they do the exact same thing with email. So it only works, right? This only works for the scammers if and only if we are curious and our curiosity makes us gullible, right? And remember, you don't have to be an expert, but you're no dummy, right? We're going to talk about how to spot phishing attempts and then how to react. How to spot them and then how to react. So there's 3 rules. Number 1, we need to recognize it, right? There's always common signs when it comes to phishing attempts. The most typical one that they will do is that they will use words, whether in the subject line or in the body of the email, that is urgent or maybe emotionally appealing. Things that make it seem like if you don't take some sort of action, you're going to miss out, or you're going to lose something, or you're going to be at risk of something. For example, they may say you've got 30 days to do XYZ at this website, or you risk losing something, right? They put some sort of penalty in front of you, or they'll say, oh, you've got a gift card or a gift certificate waiting for you, but you only have so many days to claim it, right? That sort of language, it should always raise a red flag, right? You should always think, now, wait a minute. There's something fishy about that, pun intended, right? Another sign, if they ask you for any personal or financial information, no company is going to ask you for this information via email. I promise you, they will never, ever ask you for personal information, especially information that would identify you personally. For example, your driver's license number, your passport number, if your country has social security, your social security number, or your green card number. No company, no government entity would ever ask you for these things via email. right? And rarely would they do so over the phone. Sometimes they do, but very, very rarely. So if they're asking you in the email for some sort of personally identifiable information, that is a sign that this is probably a phishing attempt. Also, if you notice that there is a misspelling in the email address, this is 100% a sign that this is a phishing attempt. If the domain, right? Remember, we said there's three parts: the username, the @ symbol, and the domain, whatever.com. If there is a misspelling in the whatever.com, or it's slightly different from what you're accustomed to seeing, for example, if it says that it's from customer support at amazon.com, but Amazon is spelled with 3 A's instead of Amazon, it's spelled Amazan, that is a phishing attempt, right? They are definitely trying to get you. And it may say, when you look at it, it may say that it's from customer support at amazon.com. But if you just tap that email address, it will show you the actual name, the actual email address of the sender. And if those two things don't match, or if it doesn't match the name of that website, this is a phishing attempt, right? Any of these things, a misspelled email address, if they put a link in the email and you can tell there's a misspelling in the link, always a sign. So the first thing we need to do is recognize that these are phishing attempts, right? You want to commit these to memory, and every single time you get an email, you want to check these things. Again, you don't have to be an expert, but you're no dummy. Take the time each time to look at these things. You can also look for things like overly perfect grammar or the use of long dashes. That's a sign that a person has used AI to write that email, which is a sign that it's probably some sort of phishing attempt. These things, once you recognize it, your next step is to resist. You may feel a level of curiosity, right? You may feel tempted to see. Maybe you could use a $450 gift card from Dick's Sporting Goods, right? Sure, that's enticing, but you have to resist the curiosity, because if it seems too good to be true, it usually is, especially if they're asking you for personally identifiable information in that email or on that website, right? That's a sign that no, absolutely not. That you don't necessarily even need to report that you've received a phishing attempt. You can simply take the last step, which is to delete it, right? Just delete it. There's no need to click unsubscribe. There's no need to do anything. Just delete the email, right? As soon as you recognize it's a phishing attempt, delete it. So recognize it, resist the curiosity of opening up and seeing if you won something, and delete it, right? It may look official. It may seem legitimate. Don't let your curiosity get the best. As we all know, curiosity killed the cat, right? Don't give in to your curiosity. You always want to make sure that you're not giving them an easy opportunity. Some additional safety rules as it relates. Well, let's pause for a second. We've all had this experience, right? We've all received some sort of phishing attempt in our email. Every single one of us. I work in technology, so I see this very frequently. The title that I have on LinkedIn makes people think that I'm someone really important, even though I'm really not. And so I get phishing attempts constantly. People are always trying to send me these. If you've ever received one, feel free to type it in the comments or in the chat. I'd love to hear it. And it's good for other people to see them, right? It's good for us to share these experiences. So even if you're watching the recording of this and it's days, months, or even years after this live stream, type in the chat some phishing emails that you've received, right? That look convincing. While you're doing that, I want to tell you a story. A friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, I went to visit him last week, and he also works online like I do. And he's a young man, maybe well, he's young to me. He's early 30s, right? And he lost his cell phone. He bought a brand new iPhone just in July, and right now it's September. So he's only had this phone, I think, 6 weeks, right? He bought it overseas because in America, iPhones don't allow you to put certain SIM cards in. And so he bought it overseas so he could put a couple of SIM cards in it because we all live abroad. And interestingly, he lost this phone. And so if you're an iPhone user, you know you have the Find My Phone functionality, and Android users have something very similar. And so once your phone has been located, usually you get an email from Apple, and they tell you, hey, we found your phone. Go to the Find My Phone or .iCloud or whatever the website is, right? They tell you go and you can look at where your phone is. So he actually got a email that told him, hey, we found your phone. Go to the website and you can find where it is. Within minutes of him receiving that email, he received an additional email and a text message, right? And it said the exact same thing. Hey, we found your phone. Go to find it. Now, when he got to the website, he noticed that the phone was not signed in. It showed him its most recent location, which was over 100 miles from where we live, but it didn't show it actively online. He thought that was suspicious, but when he read the text message, it said, hey, we found your phone. We want to help you recover it. We just need your login, your passcode that you used to open the phone. We will, inform the person that's found it how to contact you. And he sent them the passcode to open his phone. Well, you know what happened, right? But when he looked at the link, right, when he went to that link to share that passcode, it was so close to the right thing. But instead of saying at iCloud.com, it said t-iCloud.com. It was a different website, right? It looked like Apple. Everything else looked legitimate. Now, he got the email that told him one thing. He got a text message that told him something similar. But this was a very sophisticated phishing attempt. Of course, he has now lost that phone. This is not an old person. This is a young person. So they use this emotional language in the hopes that we won't be paying attention, right? So we don't need to be experts, but let's not be dummies. Be very, very careful. I'm very curious to see if anyone's got any. I will look at the chat in the future. Right now, we've got some interesting ones. Every day, someone says, every day, someone's looking for money, right? You got to pay or you're going to lose all your photos. That happens. Another person says that you had a Geek Squad invoice due, right? These are things that happens, and it's not we're not personally making a mistake if we receive a phishing email. That's just something that happens. But we have to resist that curiosity, right? If it seems shady, it is shady, right? Well, you don't have to wonder, it is. Let's just hit on a couple safety rules before we wrap up for today. First of all, never click a link in an email that you were not expecting. It's just a simple rule. Don't click the link. If you're on your computer, you can hover over the link and it will pop up the actual address that link goes to. You can confirm, right? You can also, as we said, double check the sender's email address, right? It's just like checking that return address on an email. Read it carefully. And if you hover over it, if you're on a computer, or you tap on it, if you're on an email, not the email itself, but the name of the user, it will show you their email address. Double check it. Make sure that it's from a legitimate company. Also, you want to use strong passwords. Don't use things like your birthday or your anniversary date, because these things are very easy to find online because they're registered with the government. So you can type in your name and birthday, and I guarantee you in the first few results, your birthday will pop up. You're not tricking anyone by using your birthday as a password. So do something more complicated. Include some symbols, uppercase, lowercase, symbols, numbers. Those things are more complicated. They're harder to guess. They're harder. There's something called a brute force attack where they just type in various combinations. That makes it almost impossible for someone using a regular computer to brute force. And if you know how, set up two-step verification or multi-factor verification. Again, we're going to talk about this next week. I'll show you how to do it, but it's extremely important. I know it's annoying, but we don't want to be dummies. We just have to be safe. And of course, if it's obvious spam or it's an obvious phishing attempt, don't let your curiosity get the best of you. Just delete it. There's no need to investigate and check into it. Don't waste your time or your energy. All right, guys. So that was our live stream on email. Now you know how to stay safe. Now you know what to do. It's just like going to your physical mailbox, right? Nothing hard to understand there. But you just have to be careful. You want to read before you take any actions. Again, we've got our safety protocols. You can go back and review this as many times as you need until it sticks. Use these rules every single time. And if you know someone that can benefit from this, please share the link to this video with them. They can watch it later, especially if it's a loved one, a mother, a father, a friend, your grandparents, whoever. Make sure that they see this so that they can stay safe. Again, tomorrow we're going to talk about websites. If in the interim you find that you are in need of some sort of help, let's say, for example, you've got a question. Again, just like we talked about the other day, you can go to our website and set up access to our private live streams where we do question and answer. Right? You can join that live stream. You type your questions in the chat. Anything with technology that has been bugging you, you just put it in there and I will answer it for you no matter how complex. We'll take care of it right there on the live stream. Also, if you feel you need more than just having a simple question answered, you need help setting up something or you need help fixing something, feel free to visit our website and set up a one-on-one time. Again, I do have a full-time job. I just do this part-time, but I will make time for this. There's times available, usually in the afternoon, across all time zones. So there should be an opportunity if you need help. If you know someone that needs help, please send them our website. We would be happy to help them. Again, thank you all very much for joining today, for watching the video. Looking forward to seeing you at our next one. We'll be talking about websites, the difference between websites and applications. And have a great day. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.